Today, we have a special topic for today. We had a second guest as well, but unfortunately he wasn't able to attend. So, I did some extra research today in preparation for this, and we're going to give everybody some tools and resources all about getting out of debt, particularly the mortgages and the student loans. So I think that we should be live on our social channels right now. Just give me a second to make sure that I can see it. Yes, I do. And I thought I had the other one open, but oops, looks like. There we go. All righty then. Yes. Okay. So I want to say hello to everyone here. So I see Suffolk, Virginia in the house. We got Chicago. We have Costa Rica.
All right.
Hello, Costa Rica. New place. Georgia, Bridgeport, Connecticut. We've got the Bronx in the house. We've got Tampa, Texas, Dallas. Chicago, another Chicago, Michigan, Brooklyn, Miami, Detroit is showing up today, Memphis, Tennessee, Jonesboro. Trent is saying always a good topic of discussion. Absolutely. Financial wholeness. We've got the Charlotte area in the house. We've got Florida. Want to say hello to everybody here today. Got Georgia here. Thank you so much for being here. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you would please give us a thumbs up, please subscribe, please comment. It helps the algorithm. Most importantly, please share this stream because we like to get the information out to everyone with regards to the 10K project, who we are, what we're doing, etc. So I'm going to bring back something I haven't done in a minute. I'm slowly getting into all the stuff we used to do that we kind of tapered off with doing. I want to start bringing some of those things back because they were effective. And one thing that I used to do was give the little 5 to 6 slide presentation. So that is coming back officially today. Put a 1 in the chat if you remembered my little presentations where I would talk about the 10K project and I would have the slides up. We are bringing that back officially. I'm starting to see the ones in here. So I know I have some of my old school people in here, but sometimes the visual as well as, it's actually statistically proven that when people see something and hear something, then they get it a little bit more. So we want to be able to do that. So, and then of course I will have Tawana come up and introduce herself. And then Darlena is our guest speaker for today. So we are the 10K Project. Our goal is to build Black wealth and help Black businesses. So one of the things that Tawana said to me on Friday is, you used to say all the time, if you buy Black, you want to invest Black too. And I said, yeah, I do say that all the time, but I don't say it enough. So if you want to buy Black, or if you often buy Black, then let's invest Black too. And now we have a way to actually do that. And we have a reason to do it as well. So businesses need money in order to start and grow. However, within the Black community, we have a couple of issues with our businesses getting the funding that they need. Number one, we're least likely to be funded. However, there was a Morgan Stanley report that said that when our businesses are properly funded, we make just as much money as any other ethnically founded group of people out there. Number two is if we just so happen to have a business that is properly funded, they're able to grow to hundreds of millions of dollars, even $1 billion. Oftentimes, the community, those of us who did not get into that investment early, cannot participate in the business's growth. Well, the 10K project is here to help both of those issues and change the trajectory of the community, because we can be the place where the people, everyday people like you and I, can earn returns and share in the profits of our successful businesses. How do we do this? We do this through something called the Jobs Act of 2012. It gave Black entrepreneurs another option to get the money that they need from everyday people that are called the crowd. And this is called crowdfunding, and more importantly, equity crowdfunding. So how does crowdfunding work? Well, the first thing is, oh, I have to change the slide a bit. I told you all, I just pulled it up a few minutes before I came in, but entrepreneurs can now raise up to $5 million. So what we do is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we invite an entrepreneur that is raising money through the equity crowdfunding process to come and do something called a Bet on Black pitch. The entrepreneurs by law can raise anywhere from $10,000 to $5 million. And then the entrepreneurs can present their companies not only on an equity crowdfunding portal, but they present them in front of the group, again, in something called a Bet on Black pitch. And then you as an individual person gets to decide if you want to invest in that company in exchange for partial ownership or shares in that company. And if the company makes it big, then the crowd, i.e. the investors, get to share in the profits. If not, investors only lose what they put into the company. Oftentimes, the minimum is $100 per investment. However, we will say that the entrepreneurs do decide how much is the minimum for their specific campaign. But when 10,000 of us get together and we put in small dollars of money each, then the community can raise, for example, $1 million. We can start funding our own businesses, profiting from our own innovation, creating jobs, and building Black wealth in the community. That is where the name, the 10K Project, came from. So here's the ecosystem that we're building. Entrepreneurs are looking for capital for their businesses. We also have investors. These are everyday people that have $100, $200, $500 to put into businesses or invest in businesses in exchange for partial ownership or equity in those businesses. But what we didn't want to do is then have that money just leak out of the community. We want to have a way to have this dollar, the Black dollar, circulate longer in the community. So we have an expert directory. I encourage everybody to put your information in the expert directory. So once an entrepreneur raises money, they may come to the expert directory and say, hey, I need a CPA. I need a graphic designer. I need to file a patent. And they would be able to come in and find service professionals. And even if you have soap or, barbecue sauce or any kind of product, you want to put that in the expert directory as well, because you never know what the entrepreneurs and the other investors in the community are looking for. But once all of us start working together, we can truly work together to build Black wealth. So you can become a member. We have our gold membership, which includes you're able to come to the Bet on Black pitch every Tuesday evening. We also have within our Knowledge Center, we have tons of wealth building webinars, anything from how to invest in hotels to, oh my goodness, Swan knows more of them than I can think of. We've got tons of wealth building information within the Knowledge Center. And you can be a part of the expert directory as well. That is a one-time payment of $100. And then the Platinum membership includes everything in the gold membership plus 6 months of financial planning for $347. Isn't that right, Tawana?
That is correct.
That is correct. 347. You cannot beat this. It is Calvin Williams Company that we have partnered with to offer the 6 months of financial planning. It is well worthwhile. And I know that some of you are already members and you want to upgrade. I will be sending the coupon code out. um, I will tell you what, I will send it out tonight. I will send out the coupon code tonight for you so that you are able to upgrade. But you're able to come to the10kproject.com in order to become a member. So Tawana?
I'll just add, Cherie covered, pretty much everything. I'll just add though that, the guys over at Freeman Capital were so generous with this offer that even if you go to their own website, you can't get this deal. So, if you are interested, even remotely interested, this is where you want to secure the 6 months financial planning. I mean, this deal is unbeatable. When Alec and Calvin presented it, remember for those of you who are members, I shared with you originally this was 3 months, and then we were talking, and Alec said, "I want to give 6 months," and I was like, "You sure for the same price?" And he said, "Yeah." So I was like, "Bet." So he checked with Calvin. Calvin gave the thumbs up, and here we are. So, I really, really suggest if you're interested, especially if you're an existing member, because you already know the value of what we're giving with the basic package, right? You've been benefiting from it. You've been attending the pitches. You see how those are going. You see the great things we're doing for entrepreneurs. This takes your membership to the next level without a doubt. And if you're newly interested, I would tell you to take advantage of the financial planning package, but maybe you want to start out at the basic package, right? The $100 lifetime, just to see what we're about. I'm imagining that there are some new people out there who haven't yet, experienced all of what the 10K project can be. And so if you're not ready to jump into that platinum package, please start with the basic package, $100 lifetime. So we're not going to increase that, right? We're going to continue to add things to it. So you get more and more for that $100, but we won't increase the price of it. And so try that. If you're just coming to visit us for the first time, this evening will be a good taste of some of the educational information that we like to provide. As Cherie stated, the directory, the Knowledge Center has a ton of educational information, from marketing to Cherie said, how to buy businesses, how to buy hotels, trademarking. I mean, I could go on and on. We've talked about almost everything as it relates to how to scale and grow your business if you're an entrepreneur. And if you're an investor, we've given you a lot of good information on alternative investments. And we're still developing what that program is going to look like for the next few months. So we've talked about having someone who talks about traditional stocks, right? Because we haven't touched on that at all yet. So we're going to introduce that as we come into the next season. So, there's so much that we have planned, and we don't give everything for free. So these sessions, these Monday sessions, are the free sessions for anyone to come, right? They're public sessions. But we save the gems for our members. And so you want to be a member, even if it's at the basic level, because you don't want to miss out on some of that member only content. And for the members in the chat right now, I mean, you guys co-sign if you want to, right? I'm not twisting your arm, but for the people who are not members, if there are members out there who find value in this, please share it so that people can see, we're not playing games here. This is not a scam. This is not a joke. We're not wasting your time here. We're just trying to help you be better and be wiser and be more financially savvy and be more wealthy and healthy, right? From a holistic standpoint. So, that's what we're trying to do here. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat as we're talking, even if it's not about tonight's topic. You just have questions about 10K, put them in the chat. If there are members in the chat and someone wants to ask you a question, please let them ask you a question. DM each other and say, are they for real, right? And tell them the truth. If you think we're not, tell them the truth. I never want anyone to misrepresent what we are, good or bad. So if you guys think we have improvements to make, share that as well. We're open to all of that. The whole point we're here is to be healthier and as a community we can get to success together. That's the goal.
Absolutely. The final thing that I will say, we have a lot of stuff we're working on behind the scenes, but Tawana and I have decided once a month to do a member highlight session as well, where we'll bring 2 or 3 of you up and you could talk about projects that you're working on, things that you're doing. So the August session is already booked. We have a woman who is producing a movie with Dr. George Fraser and a couple of other big names in there. And then we have a second person. I don't know if he did say yes.
Yeah, Dale said yes.
Dale said yes. Okay.
Dale said
Who
yes.
has-
Dale is a member. Him and his wife
Yeah.
are coming, and they have a healthcare solution called Heiko Health. They're going to be talking about that with us as well. These are members, guys. These are member highlights. So outside of all the other guests we bring, right? These are people that are already here with us. You guys are hiding. The gems among us are hiding, and we're going to pull you out and highlight you because you deserve it as well. We're not going to just highlight the equity crowdfunding folks. We're going to highlight the entrepreneurs in this community who are doing amazing things, and maybe they're not ready to raise money yet, right? Mm-hmm. But when they are, guess what? We'll be right here waiting for them.
Right. And even if you don't want to raise money, even if you want to, it can't just be a blatant promotion of your business itself. It needs to be something that, is cool and valuable and all of that. But we do want to give more to our community. We could have gone the way that some other podcasts go, where they get the big names, they get DJ Envy and those people to come. But that's not me. I don't think that's really Tawana as well. So yeah, we may have smaller numbers at first, but we're looking to be a lot more impactful in the community. And how do we do that? We do that by, having this group of people that's really by each other, standing by each other, promoting each other's things. And, if you have a project that you're working on, you can email me info@b10kproject.com, and we will start, looking at applications for the September member highlight. So,
and I'll just add, and then we can move on, but I'll just add, just kind of to Cherie's point, I think that for some of us, seeing success in a more relatable form is helpful, right? The phenom of celebrity is an amazing thing. And I'm not going to front. If you know DJ Envy and you can get him to come talk to 10K, invite him. We'll talk to him, right? But, how cool is it to see the average person living their dream, living their truth, making it happen, and then sharing that? Because celebrity looks very different to different people, right? I don't have to know 1 million people to hear a story and be inspired by it. So I think we're trying to, just like we talk about our financial savviness is always on a spectrum, right? Some of us are super savvy, some of us are not. I think it's the same thing with being inspired. Some of us can be inspired by celebrity, and some people can be inspired by the average person who looks like them and talks like them and has a similar background as them. And sometimes that doesn't look like Hollywood, right? And so I think we just want to talk to all people and see how we can meet people where they are, because we're all at different places.
Absolutely. So we want to talk about this topic tonight. I put out a call for, members who had things that they could speak on. And one of the topics that intrigued me was how to get out of student loan debt and mortgage debt in 9 years or less. So I think I've shared on this platform before that I have a 10-year vision to be mortgage-free. Mortgage-free and student loan free. So I'm doing this for myself. This is a little selfish of me in terms of a topic, but when my father retired, he had no mortgage. He had he didn't have student loans anyway, no student loans. He had no car payment, and he was able to, and he had some cash in the bank. And because he was able to, because he had that stability, he was able to retire, and he retired for a long time until he passed. or he was retired, sorry, for a long time until he passed. And that kind of opened my eyes up to, wow, if you don't have these bills, that gives you a lot more freedom and a lot more flexibility. So Darlena is here. You can unmute yourself, Darlena. She is
Hi,
a
how are
member.
you?
I'm good. We are good. Thank you. We are super excited to have this conversation with you and hopefully learn some tips and tricks and things like that in order to help us. You know, that I think that if people are mortgage free and student loan free, that's probably less than 10%, 20% of, of college graduates that reach that pinnacle. Would that be correct to say or think?
I think definitely in the US, I would say that is less than 10%,
Mm-hmm.
especially with younger people. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's because we've kind of promoted debt as like the American way. But for me, what raised my consciousness was actually I was doing educational projects in Latin America and I
Mm.
was presenting my research there. And I started to get to know the other women who were researchers. And those women made a fourth of what I earned, a fourth. And they were able to do all these wonderful things that I couldn't do. I mean, financially, I was paying my bills. I looked good on the outside, but I watched as they kind of traveled the world. They had, household help. And I decided, I have got to learn what it is they're doing. And one of the things that I noticed was that their families, when they decided to get married, their families will give them land. Okay. So when their family would give them land, they stayed at like this family compound and they had, like an apartment there. And so it was separate from the main house. It could have been on top of the main house. And then they would take their earnings and they would build their house on this land. So by the time this house was finished in like 3 years, then it was mortgage free. And once their house was mortgage free, it opened up an entirely different world. The other thing that I noticed was that they passed on furniture. I mean, solid wood furniture, really good furniture. They passed that on to the next generation. So everyone wasn't going out and buying all this new furniture. And that kind of conservation of resources set these two young people up for a great life. And so then, they would move into their house mortgage free. The other thing that I noticed was that they didn't buy cars every 2 years. They would have one vehicle that was over 10 years, and then they would have another vehicle that was less than 10 years. And the newer vehicle they would use for the family on the weekends. And then the older vehicle is what they drove to work into downtown because vandalism is really an issue. So you're not trying to show people how much money you have. And these simple tools may seem, like little things, but these little things really add up to be big things. And so I wanted that. I wanted that. So one of the first things I did, and this is some, there are hard tools and there are soft tools. And I'm going to talk about both of them because I think it's important. Black people have had a lot of money trauma. We came to this hemisphere as currency. There was a dollar value placed on our bodies, and people actually exchanged us instead of actual paper bills or gold or coin. So we came here with money trauma. And so that money trauma has been passed on for generations, and we have to deal with that. And that's emotional, and we can break that. We can break that trauma. One of the first things I did was started to write down what I spent. And fortunately for me, I was keeping receipts because I wanted to know like what to take off my taxes and then I would throw them away. Because once I started writing things down, I started to change what I bought simply because I had to write it down. So then I thought, no, let me kind of go back a month and see what I was spending before. And so when I started to write things down, I noticed where my leakages were. One of my leakages was treating people to lunch or treating people to dinner. We go out to dinner and supposedly I'm going to pay this time and you're going to pay next time. And guess what? As I started to write down what I spent, I realized that the other person wasn't paying the next time. And so that was one of the things that I decided to take a look at, and I decided to stop. Another one of the things was not charging enough for my services or not charging for my services. Everybody wants to do something for your community. What I found out was many of these nonprofit organizations actually had funding for some of the workshops or some of the things that they wanted me to do. They would come to me first. And if I would do it for free, they would get me to do it, and everybody loved me. But if I didn't do it for free, they paid someone else. So then I created a flyer, and I went to actually SCORE to get one of the retired executives, and he kind of helped me with a business plan. And so when people would call me and ask me to do something, I would say, this is my fee for this. So let me send you my rates. And so in that way, I was able to increase my earnings. I started to look at what I owed that had the highest interest rate, and I paid that off. And then instead of, we have a tendency that when our income rises, that our living expenses rise as well. That was one thing that I knew that I could not do. And so as my income rose, I used all those additional funds to pay off debt. And I also noticed how when I start doing this process, I started to be more conscious of my spending. You would go to the mall and you would see this little pretty $10 bow for your daughter. And then I would, and I'm not trying to throw out any names, but then I would go to Big Lots and see one very similar, and it was like, $3 for $1. And so I started to bring that level of consciousness to my spending. I want to talk a little bit, because this is really important, about imprinting. And imprinting is what you get from your family. It's how your family spent money and how they used money when you were very young. We all have this imprinting. And one of the things that I do when I mentor people, I'm going to get into coaching as well, is having people write this emotional story about what role money played in their childhood. Because once you become aware that you're repeating somebody else's pattern, then you can create a different blueprint for yourself. So the first thing I did was, as I said, when I increased my earnings, when I looked at what I was spending, I came up with a spending plan. And my spending plan, the goal of my spending plan was to pay off all unsecured debt. So I paid off the unsecured debt. I paid off my car. You don't need a car every 2 to 4 years. You really don't. And then I took that money, the additional money that I had, and then I started paying off some of the other types of debt. And one of the most difficult things is to be still. Because people would make remarks about, I wasn't making a lot of money, obviously. They weren't seeing any changes. I wasn't dressing any differently. I wasn't buying any clothes, blah, blah, blah. And I needed to keep that as their problem. I knew what my goal was. It was a thorn in my side to have this student loan debt. And I was appalled that when I was actually making the minimum payments, that after years, I owed more than what I borrowed. And that is always the case when you make minimum payments, even if it's with a credit card or anything else. And so I was just determined to stay the course. And I did a lot of writing about just feelings about money, about saying to people, and even, my grandson, he's 18 years old, saying to them, that's not in my spending plan. That is not in my spending plan. I'm not saying that I deprived myself, But I was more careful. I was more conscious. I looked at things and I compared. And I looked at because I traveled to Africa, I enjoy traveling to Africa. I set a spending plan for that. And I knew that certain seasons, the air travel was much, much less. So certain seasons, I think it was like in November one year, you could get a round trip ticket from Los Angeles to Nairobi for under $700. Okay. So I got that ticket as opposed to getting the $2,000 ticket during the high season. So I made conscious, deliberate choices. And I want to say, even in my family, as Black women, we take care of everybody. And so I have cousins and I love my cousins dearly. They had used me as their prudent reserves. So, they would make bad financial decisions and then they would come to me and say, my engine blew out, blah, blah, blah. And so then I would say to them, let's sit down and let's look at your spending plan. Let's look at, you can contact, the dealer, the car manufacturer, and many times there's a defect. So you can either get that fixed for free or for a much reduced rate. But everything I did in terms of money, it became deliberate and it became conscious as opposed to having vagueness, spending, somebody asks you for something, you give it to them and you don't think about it. I started doing meal prep that was one of my greatest weaknesses, was that I would be very busy working and I would think, oh, let me grab a coupon. It's not going to cost that much. When I started to actually do the meal prep, and what I found out, and this is me, that I would go grocery shopping. I would get really caught up in life, what I was doing for other people, what I needed to do for me, what I needed to do for the job. Then I would eat out and then the food in the refrigerator would spoil. So I started to do the meal prep, the meal planning. I knew exactly what I had. And that in and of itself added anywhere from $300 to $500 to my spending plan for me to pay off debt.
So and how much weight did you lose doing that too?
I know.
Yeah, I know you did. You probably lost a good 15 pounds doing that.
Absolutely. And so today I have no unsecured debt. And for me, that was scary because I know I'm a compulsive spender. And, there's this principle that when, you remove one thing, it comes back 10 times stronger. So the money that I used to spend on debt, I have my vehicle, so I have, secured debt. However, it's much different. My credit score, and it's really kind of funny, it fluctuates from like 752 to 822. And I really could care less because I don't owe anybody any money. So I'm not worried about it. So what I wanted to do when I no longer had the debt, the student loan debt, I wanted to be able to invest that money. And to invest that money into real estate, as well as other, Black-owned businesses that I believed in, because that's my money value. And that's another issue, is that you have to look at what you value, what's important to me. And what was important to me was actually teaching this. I've done some workshops with Black mothers and daughters of adolescent girls. So the mom and daughter is math, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. We do role play about finances. They get a job, it's on a card or on a tablet. You have this job, you have this name. Sometimes you're married, sometimes you're not married, sometimes you have kids, and there's a certain amount of money, and you have to take this and you have to provide for your wants and needs. And one of the things that comes up is that this seems like an enormous amount of money to a teenage girl. And so, she has a car, and then she has car insurance because she wanted this, snazzy sports car. And it's like, sweetheart, you can't afford food now. Or, you got.
It reminds me of that Cosby Show.
Yes.
Remember the Cosby Show where Theo is, is
exactly.
saying, oh, this is a lot of money. And his dad says, you intend on having a girlfriend. And he says, yes.
Exactly. And so at the end, because they're a little down, we actually do a raffle and we give away prizes to kind of lift the energy up.
Mhm.
But the lessons that are learned from that, and for the moms, and a lot of the moms, Black mothers, they will have businesses. They're selling pies, they're doing hair. Their teenage daughter is doing hair as well. It's like, what's your return on your investment?
Mhm.
How much are you earning per hour? And if we're working at home, we don't think about that.
Yeah.
But you're giving away your time and you can never get that back.
Mhm.
So you have to factor all of that in. And then with Black people, I think it's very important that we have a lot of predatory lenders out there.
Yeah.
So for me to be your advocate and bring responsible, honest people to the table, bring their written brochures, their contracts, for them to go through that so that you know these people are honest, these are people are reliable. You can ask them any question. There's no such thing as a too silly question,
Mhm.
and get accurate information to make good financial decisions. But it's a process and it's a journey. And again, there are the soft issues in terms of the imprinting. It's creating a new blueprint, but it's so important in our community. So many of our relationships fail because of money, not being able to talk about money, not being able to plan about around money. And then so many of our issues in terms of incarceration and other factors has to do with access to money, access to resources. So to bring together people who are prudent and who are responsible and respectable, and to say to them, if somebody says you can't understand this, get up and walk away. Because if they can't explain it to you in a way that you can understand and you know what you're using your money for, they're not the person for you. And so I think that's the most important lesson to really take away from this. And so I've decided to start as young as 3. I'm going to start a preschool. I actually use money in my after school program to teach math to Black kids. They love it. Even though it's play money, they love it. And we teach every math value there is through money.
Okay.
And I'm going down to 3 years old, teaching them how to count money because it's so important to know how much money you have.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have a tendency to say is, I'm broke. And I
Mhm.
see women of all income levels say that, and they actually are. And it's because of how they've chosen to use the resources that they have.
Mhm.
And like I said, when I saw those women and how well they lived, I thought, I need to sit down. I need to pick their brain. I need to find out what they're doing because this is what I want for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to suggest that if you see somebody and they have the kind of lifestyle that you want, or they're, investing, or, they're doing something really positive, just ask them, what are you doing? Let me in on the secret. And for the most part, people will let you know.
Yeah.
My vehicle, the last time, I have a 1.9% interest rate. I made sure that I didn't pay anything above Blue Book value. And it was actually my assistant who told me how to, access this 1.9%. So there are ways to do this that are sober and sane and bring peace of mind. But again, you have to get in touch with that emotion around money. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of history. We all have memories. My mother lost our house in a foreclosure. And
Oh.
so that was a very painful process for me. The girls that I used to play with when I lived in the big house in this particular neighborhood, the day after I moved, they were no longer available to be my friends. That was terribly painful. And so I'm able to look at that as an adult and deal with that in a group setting and then make wise financial decisions today because my mother didn't have access to the information and the resources that I have access to.
Yeah, Darlena, I think you make such great points. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about the guests that we've had that have come and spoken to us before. And as we're talking about building generational wealth and all of this, like we make it sound so complex, right? What are you going to invest in? What are you going to do in this stock and this bond? But really, it boils down to that very simple education and the relationship you're going to have with money. And for many of us, our parents didn't have those conversations with us, right? And we don't have time machines. I can't go back and I can't help my mother explain it better to me and tell me to get out of the room because she was doing the bills, right? I can't convince her that she should have invited me there to do them with her and help me understand all of that better to prevent me from having struggles as I got older. So we can't go back in time, but what we can do when we talk about generational wealth is that younger generation, we can start educating them, right? Everything we absorb and we learn, we need to be sharing that with them today. And I love that you said, as early as, 3 or, because they can understand it. They absolutely can. And we need to do better because it's not going to matter if we're building all of this wealth for them, only for them to squander it away because we still failed to educate them on how to retain it. And so if we don't take anything away from these discussions that you guys are learning here at the 10K Project, please educate the young ones, invite them here. There was someone in the comment that said her and her 23-year-old son joined 10K and are benefiting from it. Invite the younger ones to come and watch the sessions. We have one member, she has her grandkids with her when we do the Bet on Black pitches. So it's a family event. So please don't do what some of the older generations did. And I know that didn't happen in everyone's household, so I'm telling you my business now. That happened in mine, right? When my mother was doing the bills, you were quiet and you were invisible, right? Because that was serious business, right? Trying to rob Peter to pay Paul was serious business.
There was a lot of it. There was. The reason I started to do the mother-daughter conferences was because in my after-school program, I was using money and debt, and we were, I think, they were 10 years old. So I said, if you made $1,000 and, you had these expenses, deduct it. And then I would always throw something in there about taxes. And I would show them when we did percentages, how to do taxes. And some of the mothers came to me and said, look, I don't know this information. Mm-hmm. And they told me different places they worked that they were paid on a debit card. And if they used the debit card more than once, there was like a $3 fee. So they couldn't figure out how much they earned. And that's when I said, you know what, I have a tribe. Let me go call the women that I know, Black women that are in finance. Let's do this mother and daughter conference. And let's just sit down and push aside the shame, because that's what it was. I mean, my mother was so belligerent with me. Like you said, it was like, you don't understand anything. When I would question something or say, we spent all of this money for this holiday celebration and now we don't have any food. It was like, shut up, I'm slapping you in your mouth because you don't understand. But yet those discussions, needed to happen. And that's why with young people, I always tell them, don't take for granted that people are taking out the proper amount of taxes. There's a tax formula. And so I'll show you how to do percentages and you'll know what part of your payroll goes to Social Security taxes or, state disability taxes or how much you should have taken out for your federal taxes, because that's actually your responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I said, you can call these government agencies quarterly and check your account. It's your money. And so I think young people really have to understand that. And if we can get them more comfortable with talking about money at an earlier age and asking for information, the banker works for you. That's your money in that bank. He works for you. He or she need to be able to answer questions for you in a language that you can understand. And so
if they know themselves. So
yes.
I will say sometimes the banker may not know themselves. So
they need a new job then, because that by definition, shouldn't the banker know finances?
Well, look, I'm just going to say, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So
they need to learn, though.
They do need to learn. We have a few questions here, and Before I ask people's questions, are you a financial coach outside of the mom and daughter thing? If people wanted to contact you, how would they do that?
Okay, I'm an educator. I'm an educator. And what was happening was that I was successfully doing an education program. And so other people who had nonprofits or had small businesses, they were saying, let's get together and talk. What are you doing? And so then thought I can't meet with everybody for coffee and lunch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So let me pull something together. So I'm starting a podcast just like you are. I've been looking at all the stuff you're doing. And
Fantastic.
yes, I want to interview people in the financial world. My target audience is Black women because I'm a Black woman and Black women take care of everybody. But the information is for everybody, men, everybody. And I just want to share all of this
Mhm.
with everyone. And then if, people need something more in terms of the coaching, I am a psychologist by profession. We can go through, your money history, show you how to get support in those areas, actually show you how to create a new family around money, which is what I've done. Is that, I have people and they say, okay, what are you doing? And then they'll say things to me like, you can hire somebody $15 an hour to do that. That is not what you need to be doing. And I can receive that now. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. Okay, let me focus on what's going to generate the revenue. So I love that. And, it's
And yeah,
called,
and congratulations on the podcast. Definitely not let us know when it gets started.
I will.
Tawana said, don't forget our own platinum package.
Yeah.
Um, and George said, I work for a bank. I worked, sorry, past tense for a bank. Nah, they don't know all the answers. I'm not surprised. Trent is saying, got to talk to an advisor, accountants, and financial professionals. So the other thing that I will say is during our family bank session, for those of you who are again old school, 10K project, you remember this? Anybody who is new to the 10K project, go into the Knowledge Center, put in family bank, all of the lessons come up. One of the things we did was we invited a mental health family therapist to come and talk about money and the we I came up with the idea from the whole generational thing, like, Big Mama thinks differently about money than your kids do and things like that. And I love the fact that you're going to do the psychology part of it as well, because I do think that there's a lot of um, inner uh, we call it talk that keeps us from reaching our financial goals. So, I definitely see that that is a need for so many Black women. With that, we do have some questions, Darlena.
Okay. I
Um,
just want to say I really admire what you're doing. I
oh,
mean,
thank
it
you.
took me less than 60 seconds when I read about the 10K project. It took
Mhm.
me less than 60 seconds to say, this is my tithe for the month. Here's $100. I didn't blink an eye because
Thank
I thought
you.
if you are doing this
Mhm.
work is so crucial. It's so important that we invest in each other. Then
Mhm.
I wanted to do my part to contribute to that. And of course, as soon as I did it, I shot out the email to my community saying, look, everybody who's been singing that we need to invest in Black, where are you
Mhm.
at? They're in the house, they're doing it. You're talking about you want to do it, and these people are doing it. So let's support them. So, yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you. So Kathy is saying, I also want to be mortgage and student loan free in 10 years or less. Kathy, I think Darlena gave you some great tips. So,
Yeah.
definitely, I would suggest if people are serious to find a financial professional and like really sit down and map it out.
Right.
Because without a true plan, um, in my opinion, it is just a wish.
I
So,
agree. And everybody's situation is so different that one
yes.
nuance can change the plan, right? So we can't sit here and give you the plan for you because there are 79 of us on here, right? The plan
Right.
for each of us is very different.
Right.
I do want to say one of the basics is writing down everything you spend.
Yes.
I didn't realize how much I spent for soda. I didn't realize how much I spent going out for coffee. And when you start to write down what you spend, and I also want to tell you, there are 12-step programs where people are working through debt and working through increasing their earnings, and they will work with you for free because we're all in this together.
Fantastic. So Chris is saying investing in investment property is a goal of mine. My question is, should I become completely debt-free before I purchase? I noticed with credit simulators on my FICO app, my credit score would drop if I clear all of my debt, not by much, but it would drop. Chris, that's a great question. I think so. I will speak just from a personal point of view. I think that you can do it either way. You know, one of the things that Darlena talked about was the fact that she's debt free, and her, I mean, in my opinion, a 50-point spread between, you know, even though she's debt free, between her credit score is like huge. So there's, you know, I won't say no rhyme or reason, but probably less rhyme or reason than we think with regards to credit. But I have heard people purchase investment property and then use that money in order to pay off debt.
Correct.
One of the things that Darlena said that I wrote down was she first focused on her expenses and really, number one, paid attention to her expenses and then became aggressive in reducing her expenses. And then she focused on increasing her income. And I do think you need both of those. You need a wider spread so that you have more money in order to tackle the debt. And that's personally what I'm doing right now. So Chris, I'm investing in my business actively. And through investing in my business, that's how I intend to increase my income. But I think you should also talk to a financial
Yeah,
advisor.
can I add something to Chris?
Sure.
First thing I was going to say is I am not a financial advisor, so this is just my opinion, my what I do. If the investment property is generating cash flow, right, then you can take that cash flow and put it somewhere else, right? So from that standpoint, it's absolutely a good idea. Now, if the investment opportunity is not generating cash flow, then you're taking money that could chip away at some of the debt. Now it's no longer available. So when you think about it in those terms, again, your investment deal is going to be different than the other investment deals that many of us may have. So you have to consider that. But those strategic questions are the type of questions I think financial planner can absolutely help you with. That's what they do, right? They should be able to do that and let you know the pros and cons of different strategies.
Right. And I just want to say there's a difference between secured debt and unsecured debt. And it was actually my girlfriend who's a mortgage loan officer, because I agree, I panicked over that spread in my credit score. And she said, there is nothing that you cannot buy with a 750 credit score. You know, anything else is just ego and people are playing with you. And I had to laugh. And there's also, if it's a struggle for you in terms of credit card, there are secured credit cards where your own money is actually underwriting the security, the credit card. But, you know, I could actually get, if I choose to, which I do not choose to, with a 750 credit score in my income, I could get $100,000 of unsecured debt if I wanted it, and I don't want it. Because I would rather make more money, and I would rather, I'm interested in owning at this point. I cater to Black children in my after school program, and many commercial real estate people do not want to lease their building to a program that serves Black kids. So I'm going to start buying my own building, and I won't have to work with that.
Good for you. Good for you. I also want to make a suggestion to Chris, because I have been around a lot of real estate investment and a lot of real estate investors. The worst thing that you can get is a good property in the wrong state with a non-paying tenant. And I know a woman right now who has been trying to get a tenant out. The tenant apparently has a job in a hospital. So it's not like the woman isn't working, but for some reason she's not paying rent, hasn't paid rent in 20 months. And um, I'm just going to say, if you are not, I don't say a professional, but if you're not an experienced real estate investor, especially with landlording, you may want to interview, in my opinion, 20 to 25 landlords
I agree.
and really understand, the
I agree.
pluses, the minuses, the things that they didn't do right, things that they did right, et cetera, because there's certain pitfalls that, and sometimes with real estate investing, one pitfall can cause you to lose money and it would extract money from you instead of adding money in. So I just
I
wanted to add that.
say one more thing, and that is right now, even like my nieces and nephews, we're starting to come together and talk about investing
Mhm.
and pooling our resources. And there's property that they qualify based on their income that I can't qualify for, and I could actually lease from them. And then that would generate revenue for them. And then I use that property and I generate revenue for me. So there are a variety of ways that you can talk to your family members and your cousins or whatever and say, you don't have to do this alone.
Mhm.
We can learn, we can become educated, and we can start to work together. And trust me, when you come in there with more than one person, people tend to take notice and they give you more attention because they know that their risk is higher if they give you misinformation.
Mhm.
Charlena,
Absolutely.
in the Knowledge Center, we've got information about the family bank. Cherie mentioned it earlier. It
Mhm.
tells you kind of how to formalize that family business of investing, right? How to make it its own business.
I'm
So
checking
check
it out.
that out in the Knowledge Center. That'll be really helpful.
I
Yeah.
will. I will.
And somebody here, Charlotte, mentioned the do's and don'ts of real estate investment would be a good session. Actually, in the Knowledge Center and on YouTube, we've had about 3 or 4 real estate investing sessions. So you can definitely go and check those out. And we may do a few others as well. Virginia. So I'm going to add both of these together. I want practical tips, is what Virginia says. 58 years old, have a 6-figure income, investment accounts, and a pension, but has 300,000 in student loan debt. I do not have a mortgage. I am 58 years old. And I want to pay off my student loan before I retire. So basically, what can I do?
Um, I'm telling you how I paid mine off. And I started getting rid of stuff. I mean, I'm in a program, and I'm in a 12-step program about money. And it's called Block in Money Recovery. I started it myself. There's no charge to anyone. And one of the first things I did was I started selling stuff that I didn't need. And I started using that money to pay down debt. But the biggest thing was being still, because I started to make a lot more money and I wasn't being flashy. Somebody would make a joke about my car. It was 10 years old, and that's okay. I never had a breakdown. And so I was able to pay $80,000 in student loan debt in 3 years.
Fantastic.
So it's like, it's not, I don't care what you think about me, people go shopping, I go with them. It's like, you're gonna buy something? I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I don't need a $5,000 purse. I need $5,000 off the student loan.
Yeah. Also, Virginia, I know that it matters if it's a federal student loan or if it's private also, right? If it's privately held, the rules are different. The laws are different around what can happen with it as well. I'm going to email you, Virginia, a resource for you to look into. It's a woman who I follow. I started following her from my son because he has student loan debts. Luckily, I don't. Um, and he's been really impressed with what she is sharing. Her name, try to see if I can find her right now. think she's like the student loan doctor or something like
I've
that.
heard of her. She's becoming
Sonia
really
Lewis is her name, but I think I sent her to you, Cherie,
yeah, and
to
I've
possibly
seen a
invite
lot
her.
of people commenting on her stuff as well.
The what's her name? Her name is Sonia Lewis. You may be able to pull her up on Instagram with that. But now she's kind of talking about getting Airbnbs and doing the Turo rental cars. But if you go back to about a year ago,
Mhm.
she was straight up talking about the student loans and dropping a lot of gems about that process. And it was very, very helpful. Like I said, it was very helpful to my son, who was able to get some of the debt down as a result of some of the information she was providing. And a lot of it, I remember, had to do with, starting with what kind of loan is it? Because student loan is not a one for one, right? They're different if it's private versus federal. And at one point, she was talking about the federal government was going to do some forgiveness, but then that didn't happen, right?
Student loans are
Legislator.
big business for the government.
Oh, it's big business. Yeah.
It's big
Yeah,
business.
it's huge business.
And
Yes.
I just think we have to educate our young people in terms of making those minimum payments, that you're actually increasing the amount of money that you owe by making those minimum payments, and just really having some discussions. And maybe I'll go to, Black churches and just talk to the youth and say, if you borrow this amount of money, this is how long you'll be paying that off at this interest rate based on this loan. So yeah, that's an area that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, yeah. And I was on a podcast with someone yesterday. Some of you may have seen it, and the woman said, obviously another Black woman, yeah, I'm waiting for the reparations to pay off my student loans. And of course we all laughed, but I think what I would leave people with is decide. It's always the first key to making any life change is a decision. And it's apparent, decide is based on a Latin term. It's like to cut off, meaning like, burning the bridges. Like once you've decided that this is what you're going to do, you're going to pay off this student loan ASAP, you're going to pay it off in 10 years, whatever it is, say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And then the second thing I would suggest is to find a financial coach or a person that you trust, who is competent, who is potentially even certified, or or has schooling for it or something like that, that you can sit down with and come up with a real plan. Those would be the first two things that I would do. And quite frankly,
custom plan.
A custom plan for you. Even if you have to pay that person to create the custom plan, it may take you longer than an hour. You may have to go and speak with that person for several sessions, depending on your specific situation. But, if this is what you want to do, then it's 7:04 Eastern time right now. It's not too late to sit up tonight and listen to some people, and start contacting some people, interviewing some financial coaches. I am going to send the coupon code out for Freeman Capital and through the 10K project, that you can do it through that as well. So if you're already a member, it's just an additional $247 for 6 months of financial planning and coaching sessions. So, no matter what, there's options that are out there.
Chat box. And I'm going to say one more thing. You need support. You may have to get rid of some of the people that you have around you now.
Ooh, Darlena got deep. She cut with that one. But truth.
Get people who are on the same, level in terms of wanting to get out of debt, because, this constantly trying to push you to buy stuff, get more stuff, that's hard. I'm going to give you my email address if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, except you're putting it all over Facebook and YouTube. Yeah. So I'm just letting you know that.
That's okay. And then I am on Facebook. I do have a page, Hitting the Money Spot. But again, my first priority is to educate people. is to educate people to make better decisions. If you don't have to make all the mistakes I made, don't make them.
Yes.
You deserve support. You deserve support on your journey. You deserve to keep, have to have a family of people that say to you, my son said it the other day, that little pizza joint you like, $40 for a pizza. No, we're not going there. It's like, okay, okay.
Oh my goodness.
I love
Well,
that. That
with
means you
that-
taught him well.
Yes. With that, we
Can
want
I was gonna say, you want to wrap it up and then I can do my close on tomorrow's event.
Yes. Okay. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. I hope that I believe that everybody at least picked up something tonight and make a decision and schedule time with a financial coach. So, Tawana?
If you're already a member, please join us tomorrow for the Bet on Black pitch. If you are not a member, please go to the10kproject.com and join. Again, the basic package is $100 lifetime membership. Worth it. What she said.
It's worth it.
We talked about the platinum package, including the financial planning for 6 months. If that's something you're interested, consider that. We list all the bullets for what that package includes, but you don't want to miss the pitch tomorrow. So tomorrow, for those of you who are already members, we've got a returning founder. So that's how awesome we are at the 10K Project, and how much of an impact we're making for these Black founders is that they're calling to come back, right? That's huge, I think. And we've got a returning founder coming back, and the industry is accessory, right? So accessory. So if you want to join us, please, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be here. If you can't join live, if you're a member, we send the replay right after the recording renders. And then we also put that replay in each of our newsletters that come out Monday and Thursday. And so if you miss it live, you don't have to miss it, because you get the replay in your email and you get that replay in every newsletter until that campaign expires. So we're trying to put this campaign in front of you guys as many times as possible to help these founders. There's a couple that I'm even going to post in the Facebook page. One of the founders that we highlighted a few weeks ago, Skin by Chi, she's got 9 days left in her campaign. So I posted her link in the Facebook page. We're going to do that from time to time, because the pitch is not it, right? We're a community. We say that we're a community that's going to rally around them. So it's not one and done. So, when I put things in the Facebook page, please don't scroll by it, click on it and see what it's about. Again, if you're not a member, if you like even a little bit of what you heard here tonight, please join us again, first of all, right? Even if it's for a free session, but consider becoming at the very least a basic member. All right, with that said, I'm going to tell you thank you for your time. Time is the most important thing you could give us. And the fact that you spent over an hour with us tonight tells me that, I am blessed, because we have that level of support from you. So thank you all very much. Darlena, thank you.
Thank you.
Gems. I'm gonna watch this replay. I'm gonna send this replay to a couple of family members, baby.
I love what you're doing. And
Thank you so much, Darlena.
I can do to support you in the future. I have a wide community of people who want to get out of debt. So I have over 200 Black people that are working to get out of debt. So let me know if there's something I can do.
And let us know if there's a special session or something they want to learn about, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something that they need, because we can add that. We can add that and give, because again, that's kind of, when I talk about customizing this, right now we're small enough that we can give the people what they need. If we need another do's and don'ts of real estate, right? If the sessions we have in the Knowledge Center are not enough, then guys, let us know that, so we can fill the blanks. The Knowledge Center is meant to be that A through Z of all the things. And so if we're missing L&M, then you got to let us know so we can fill that void.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, Darlena. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bet on Black Pitch, 8 p.m. Take care.